Hello everyone, Darren here. On today's episode of WoTC Academy, we are going to be talking about base capping, specifically resetting the base. I'm sure all of you, at least at one point in your tanking career, have tried to reset the base because you're really trying to get that ×2 win on a tank, and you go up there, there's like 3 tanks or more on the base, and you have no idea who to shoot or how to really, properly reset the base. Well, there is actually kind of an procedure on how to reset the base and some information that you need to know so that way next time you are in that situation where you need to reset the cap, you know what you need to do and what to look out for. So, jumping right into things, I am going to have my assistant, Captain Wolf Hunter, over there. He is going to roll onto the base, and I'm going to show what you need to do to reset the base. So, Captain, if you could please start capping my base. We can see here that I just have my standard ammunition loaded. So, in a typical thing, you want to damage the enemy tank to reset the base. So, I'm just going to shoot. We see I bounced. Bouncing did absolutely nothing. You have to damage the tank, or you have to actually critically damage some component of the tank. To do this, the best thing you want to do is load HE, or HESH ammunition. All you have to do is splash the enemy tank, or, damage a critical component. The safest thing to do is just shoot at the tracks with HE. Not only will you get a critical hit, but you'll also do some splash damage. If you noticed, the base cap was reset because I damaged him and or did a critical hit there. Now, what happens if you have multiple enemies on the base? My other assistant, Nick, if he could roll on and help his teammate cap my base, please. We can see that once there's multiple people on the base, the cap timer gets cut down in half there. So let's say here that we saw that Captain went on the base first, and then Nick joined him sometime later. What we want to do is target the tank that has been on the base the longest and has the most capture points accrued. So in this situation, it is completely not worth my time shooting at Nick right now for an initial reset. No, instead we want to shoot at Captain Wolf to at least reset the base there. But of course we see that all we did was reset it back to 50 seconds, and it wasn't a complete base reset. At that situation, then we want to shoot Builder Nick over here, as he is now taking the lead with the most capture points. So if I shoot him here, we see that we reset it back to just over a minute. And we kind of want to just keep alternating here until either support teammates arrive and help us actually do damage to these tanks, or, depending on the health situation, we actually eliminate them or force them off the cap. That's mainly how you want to actually reset the base. That is the order in which you want to. If you guys could please roll off the base now so we don't cap out, greatly appreciated. So now that I've demonstrated again the procedure on how to properly reset the base, there is one more thing that I want to show, and that is how do you know if, who actually has the most capture points, because maybe, 2 or more tanks hopped on the base and you were not around to actually see who hopped on the base first. In this situation, we'll jump over to a different position and situation, and I'll demonstrate what you should do at that point. Alrighty, so for this situation here, we are faced with the fact that we see that more than one enemy tank popped on the base, but we have no idea which tank hopped on first. So with the help of my assistants, if you guys could please, in an orderly fashion, jump onto the base and start capping it for me.
Enemies in our base.
So in this situation now, we see that 2 tanks have hopped onto the base. We don't know who actually jumped on first. So in this situation, it is best and the safest, really, for you to shoot at the tank that you have the best chance of dealing damage or landing a critical hit on. So I'm going to roll up. I don't know who hopped on the base first. I am just going to shoot at the chieftain as he has the least amount of armor and I have the best chance of actually dealing damage or critically damaging a component on his tank. You will run the risk of actually taking a shot from any teammates there on the base as well. But of course, just treat it like any other battle, repair tracks, or get back into cover if you have to. But take that risk of at least shooting one tank in order to try and reset the points, and of course, determine if you need to shoot a different tank in order to reset the base. We are now going to go take a look at a different situation of, let's say you are now facing an opponent mixed in with some other enemies that also happens to know what they're doing. So let's go take a look at that situation. Alrighty, so in this situation, just like the first one, we are faced with the dilemma of multiple enemy tanks hopping on to cap our base roughly around the same time. However, here's the change to the situation. This time, there is a player on the enemy team who actually knows what they're doing, and they know that they hopped on the base first and that they have the most capture points. So they're going to do what they can to avoid getting shot. So as our job here, when we don't know who hopped on the base, we tend to have a sign given by that good player of who probably has the most points. So if my assistants, again, could please hop onto the base and start capping it in an orderly fashion. Alrighty, so they have both hopped onto the base really pretty close together here. So again, we're in a race against time. I'm going to roll out here, and I am going to see that they are both more or less close together here. I don't know which one has them, but we can see here that the IS-7 is protecting the Chieftain Mark 6. Chances are is the Chieftain here is the good player who knows they have the most points and is using his teammate as cover to avoid getting shot. I will probably end up taking a damage here trying to shoot the IS-7, and I just have to accept that. I may take more than one shot. I may actually get ammo wrecked. But as long as I manage to land the shot on the Chieftain and reset him, and as you saw, I did manage to reset him. Especially so seeing as the IS-7 took over with the most points there. So that is the second situation that you may encounter of when a good player happens to be the one capping the base and they know they have the most points and someone is coming back to defend the base. If you see a tank hiding behind solid cover, maybe destructible cover if nothing else, or even friendly teammates, and he's trying to do everything he can to avoid getting shot, chances are that person is the one with the most points. So definitely keep that in mind if you ever see something like that in your base. We're going to now go take a look at one more situation, and this situation is how you can reset the base if you are in a platoon of at least, one other friend. So let's go take a look at that. Alrighty, so for this final situation, this would be a hypothetical situation of when you are like maybe in a platoon, and maybe you don't even have comms right now. If you have comms, it's much easier, but let's say you're forced to use the actual in-game communication system, this method works too. So just like the other situations, we have a situation where the enemy team is more than one tank, decides to hop onto our base and start capping it, and we don't exactly know who hopped on the base first. That's not a problem because I'm with a teammate and we can kind of coordinate trying to properly reset the base. So, if my enemy team assistants could please hop on the base in an orderly fashion. So they've hopped onto the base. Builder Nick, my other assistant on my team, is much closer to the base to defend it. He is going to be responding first and actually going to try and reset the base. Now, you will notice here that he does have less health, so he is taking the greater risk of resetting the base that may or may not pay off. So he does damage the Chieftain. The Chieftain, unfortunately, is not the one with the most points, but he did go ahead and ping the tank that actually does have the most captured points, and that is the tank that I am going to want to target for a complete points reset. I took damage myself. Unfortunately, that is a reality of such type of tactics here, but we were at least successful in resetting the base here. And then it just kind of comes down to exchanging between the normal of alternating between the tanks that have the most points until either they are destroyed or they are forced off the cap. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful and informative, and if you did find that video helpful, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. Special thanks also to the gang part of the U.S. Can Regiment. Special thanks to them for helping me out and spending many minutes trying to get these clips together. But until next time, this has been Darren of WoTC Academy.